The Shawshank Redemption tops IMDb's all-time movie list. It's not just about a banker named Andy Dufresne, it's a story of hope. Andy is punished for his wife's murder and sentenced to life in the strict Shawshank Redemption prison, where no one has ever escaped. Most prisoners here have lost hope of returning to normal life. After spending a month in jail, Andy talks to a guy named Red. He has spent 20 years at Shawshank for murder. Despite his best efforts and behavior, Red's parole is rejected, which doesn't faze him all that much. He was able to smuggle things into the prison somehow. Andy asks him to get him a rock hammer. Red thinks Andy plans an escape with the hammer, but when he sees its size, he understands the laughter. He dismisses the idea of Andy using it to dig out of prison. During his first year, Andy spent most of his time working in the prison laundry or fighting off Boggs and the sisters. The story takes a turn when Red uses his influence to get his friends' names for a job tarring the roof of one of the prison's buildings. While working, Andy overhears frustrated Hadley talking about taxes. Andy goes to Hadley if he can help him to save his taxes, as he is a banker. Hadley first threatens to throw Andy off the roof, but eventually agrees to follow his advice and provide the working inmates with cold beers before the job is finished. After this incident, Andy again makes an unusual demand on Red, asking him a poster of actress Rita Hayworth. Red get it for Andy for free this time. Meanwhile, Warden Samuel Norton hears about how Andy helped Hadley. He uses surprise cell inspection to size Andy up. During the cell inspection, they find nothing in the cell except the poster. Andy is later advised that he will now work in the prison library with aging inmate Brooks Hatlin. The reason was simple: Warden and the prison guards wanted Andy to do their taxes for them. Andy's partner Brooks Hatlin's time in prison was nearly finished, but after spending 50 years at Shawshank, he was not ready to face the outer world again. Over the year, he had lost all of his hopes to go back to normal life because prison became normal for him. He finds it impossible to adjust to life outside the prison, and he eventually commits suicide. During this period of nearly 6 years, Andy was writing letters to the state for the library asking for funds. He never stopped in between, and he got his resulting donation of $200 from the state for the library, along with a collection of old books and phonograph records. Here, first time in the movie, we understand why hope is important. Not long after, Red has a new parole hearing and realizes he's been in prison for 30 years now. He uses the exact same words he used 10 years earlier, only with no enthusiasm at all. His parole is rejected again. Where Red got rejected, Andy got an allowance of $500 a year to build his library because he never stopped posting letters to them. Andy begins to mentor inmates who want to receive their high school diplomas so they can get a decent job once they're out. In 1965, a young prisoner named Tommy comes to Shawshank to serve time for breaking and entering. Andy suggests he get a better job because he was really bad at theft. The suggestion really gets to Tommy, and he asks Andy to help him work on earning his high school equivalency diploma. In one conversation, Tommy asks Red about Andy's case, and Red explains. As Tommy hears the story, he becomes visibly upset. He then shares a tale about a former cellmate from another prison, who bragged about killing a pro golfer and his lover at the country club where he worked. The woman's husband, a banker, was wrongfully imprisoned for those murders. With this new information, Andy, full of hope, meets with the warden, expecting Norton to help him get a new trial with Tommy as a witness. But instead of helping Andy, Tommy is taken outside during the night for a private meeting with the warden. Warden Norton asks him if the story he told Andy is true and if he would be willing to testify on Andy's behalf. Tommy eagerly agrees. The warden smiles at him before signaling Hadley to shoot him dead. When the warden visits Andy in solitary, he tells him that Tommy tried to escape and that Hadley had no choice but to shoot him. After completing his time in solitary, Andy opens up about his deep love for his late wife and how he feels responsible for her death, even though he didn't pull the trigger. He shares his dreams of living in Zihuatanejo, a beautiful Mexican beach town, and managing a hotel there if he ever gets out of prison. He invites Red to join him, but Red declines, feeling too far gone like Brooks. Red criticizes Andy for letting hope play with his mind, warning it might destroy him. Before leaving, Andy mentions a specific hay field with an oak tree near a stone wall in Buxton, Maine. He asks Red to promise that if he ever gets parole, he'll retrieve something hidden among the stones. However, he keeps the item a secret. Red promises but worries about Andy's mental state, especially when he asks Haywood for a 6-foot rope. Red fears Andy might be contemplating suicide. Meanwhile, Norton asks Andy to shine his shoes for him and put his suit in for dry cleaning before retiring for the night. Andy returns to his cell and the guards turn the lights off for the night. Red remarks that it was the longest night of his life. The following morning, Andy has not answered the morning call and is not standing in front of his cell like every morning. Norton hurries to Andy's empty cell, demanding an explanation. Hadley brings in Red, but Red claims he knows nothing about Andy's plans. Norton becomes more hostile and suspicious, tossing Andy's sculpted rocks around the cell. When he throws one at Andy's poster of Raquel Welch, replacing Marilyn Monroe and Rita Hayworth, the rock breaks through the wall, revealing a tunnel just big enough for a man to crawl into. Norton tears the poster from the wall, exposing the hidden escape route. In a series of flashbacks narrated by Red, we learn that years ago, Andy innocently tried to carve his name on the cell wall with his rock hammer. Surprisingly, a chunk of the wall came off, revealing a potential escape route. Andy, a geology enthusiast, realized he could use the wall's material to dig a hole for a future escape. To conceal his efforts, Andy obtained a large poster of Rita Hayworth, covering the hole with it. Night after night, he dug secretly, hiding the dirt in his pockets during his morning walks in the courtyard. When Tommy was killed, Andy knew it was time to make his move. During a thunderstorm, Andy disguised himself in Norton's clothes and slipped away from his cell unnoticed. With a plastic bag filled with belongings and papers, he used a rope he had requested to secure the bag to himself. Through the hole he'd excavated, he reached a sewer main line, which he broke open using a rock. Crawling through the sewage-filled pipe for 500 yards, Andy emerged outside the prison walls in a brook. Later, a search team found his prison clothes, a bar of soap, and a worn-out rock hammer. Andy had successfully escaped from Shawshank Prison. As the warden and Red uncover Andy's brilliant escape plan, Andy calmly walks into the Maine National Bank in Portland, where he had stashed Norton's money. Using an alias, Randall Stevens, he closes the account, collecting a cashier's check. He repeats this at several other banks, amassing around $370,000. Meanwhile, Andy sends a package containing Warden Norton's accounting books and his confessions to a newspaper. The state police storm Shawshank Prison, arresting Hadley for Tommy's murder. As Norton faces arrest, he discovers Andy's Bible with a hidden rock hammer. Unable to bear the truth, Norton takes his own life. Red receives a postcard from Fort Hancock, Texas, hinting that Andy made it to Mexico. He finds hope in the memory of his friend's triumph. At his parole hearing, Red reflects on his past actions and regrets. Finally granted parole, he follows Andy's instructions, finding a treasure hidden behind a stone wall in Buxton. Encouraged by hope, Red embraces a new chapter in his life. In a touching reunion, Red joins Andy on a Pacific Coast beach in Zihuatanejo, fulfilling a promise they made to each other. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of hope in The Shawshank Redemption. As we've witnessed, hope can triumph even in the darkest of times, and Andy and Red's story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength it brings to our lives. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories and meaningful insights from the world of cinema.